and possibility. Fair is possibility. We're in the grip of a once-in-a-century pandemic. Historic joblessness. Calls for racial justice long overdue.
One of the most repeated things or words that were said in the convention in the first night was, "We are the beacon of hope and beacon of democracy." I believed that, by the way, as a political activist for over 15 years. I started my activism in Egypt during the youth movement and the Egyptian revolution in 2011. And when I was in Egyptian criminal court trialed for my thoughts, and running for election, I did believe that yes, this experiment is the beacon of hope and the beacon of democracy, and I was inspired to transition my country into that experiment. However, though, now being here after I was forced to flee my country and being part of the kitchen and saw how the sauce is made, I have concerns about, are we really true to our values? Do we really stand for what we believe in, and do we really live by it, or it just slogans that we will keep repeating in conventions? I'm a proud Democratic member, and I will remain that for the foreseeable future. And I hate to think of leaving the party or finding a third way to stand for what I believe, but I will not stay down from what I'm doing. We like to brag that we're the home of the free, land of the brave. I don't think we are the home of the free yet, but I do believe people like us are brave enough to stand for what we believe in and speak truth to power.
You know, how can you sleep at night thinking about it, that your tax dollar are responsible of killing innocent children just because AIPAC controlled this country? We have good candidates, moral candidates. You know, wake up, America, wake up!
We are human beings, and one human being cannot see the suffering of another human being, especially the women and children who are getting buried alive. It has nothing to do with the Democrat or Republican.
I want to endorse everything that Isam just said about the problems with democracy in our country. But the biggest problem with democracy in the country is the belief that we have it. And if you go and read the U.S. Constitution, the word democracy does not appear. We are promised a quote-unquote Republican form of government, but you have to ask the authors of the document what they actually meant by republic. And in fact, they told us explicitly, because they wrote a pitch for the adoption of the new Constitution. They called the Federalist Papers. And if you read Federalist number 10, you will find that they explicitly define republic, redefine it away from the Latin definition. And what it means in their definition is a system of government whereby a small few are elected by some to rule over all. That's just an oligarchy. We already had a word for that. They knew that oligarchy would not sell, so they called it a republic. It's a marketing decision, okay? And they were very explicit in that Federalist 10, as to why they did not want a democracy. And the reason that they did not want a democracy is because poor people outnumber rich people, and poor people would outvote rich people. Okay, so what they designed is in fact a system where a small few are elected by some to rule over all. That's what we're living under. That's an oligarchy. And they designed it that way because they wanted the rich to be in power, and that's called a plutocratic oligarchy, ruled by the wealthy few. Okay, so if we want to have a democracy, the first thing we have to do is get over the idea that we already have one, because people see and hear these processes happening in the U.S. government, like appointments, for example, or the Electoral College, or the way that we gerrymander things. Okay, and because they've been told over and over and over again that the U.S. is a democracy, they think that those things are actually democratic. and they're not democratic. They're entirely anti-democratic, designed explicitly to be anti-democratic, and the people that designed them told us that they were doing it to be anti-democratic. So we need to get over the idea that we have a democracy, because it's entirely an illusion.
But we here because we love oppressed people, and in this case it's Palestinians. Yes. It could be any oppressed people. It could be Jews in Germany. Yes. It could be landless workers in Brazil. Yes. It could be brothers and sisters in Haiti. But we live in an American empire that has such unbelievable spiritual decay and moral deterioration, they think they can reproduce themselves with a level of hypocrisy and mendacity and criminality and get away with it. And we're simply here to say, chickens come home to roost. That's right. You're going to reap what you sow. Sooner or later, your lies and your crimes will be revealed and disclosed. Because truth crushed to earth will rise again, and truth is bigger than all of us, but it has something to do with the suffering of those who find themselves in plights and predicaments that the great Frantz Fanon called the wretched of the earth, and we are in solidarity with them. Yes. So when we talk about this two-party system, it's just part of a predatory capitalist network obsessed with short-term gain, driven by an organized greed that will weaponize hatred, that will somehow think that the masses, the poor and working peoples here and around the world will not raise their voices, and we say, get off the crack pipe. We'll raise our voices as long as we have vocal cords, because that's what it means to be a decent human being. Some sense of integrity and honesty and decency and courage. And when we look at our politicians, we see accommodation to empire, accommodation to organized greed. They're cowardly, conformist, complacent. We shatter that cowardliness. We shatter that complacency. We shatter that accommodation. Not in the spirit of self-righteousness, but simply saying we want to bear a witness, and we speak not just to ourselves, not just to those who march today, not just those in the Western Hemisphere. We speak to people all around the world, the global South.